In a major escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war, after 33 months, Russia has launched an intercontinental ballistic missile during an attack on Kyiv. And it is the first known use of the ICBM, the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, in the war, of such a powerful nuclear-capable weapon with a range of thousands of kilometers. The Air Force reported the launch after Ukraine fired United States' missile, the ATACMS, and British's Storm Shadow missile at targets inside Russia this week, despite earlier warnings by Moscow that it would see such action as a major escalation in this 33-month-old war. Now, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, these are strategic, strong weapons designed to deliver nuclear warheads and are an important part of Russia's nuclear deterrent. Ballistic missiles are capable of traveling thousands of kilometers from the area that they are launched. And there are essentially four types of ballistic missiles. You've got the short range, the medium range, intermediate range, and the long range ballistic missiles. These ICBMs, the category with the longest range, can travel more than 5,500 kilometers. That's the longest that it can fly off to. That means the ICBMs can strike targets virtually anywhere in the world. These ICBMs can transport conventional weapons but also carry nuclear warheads, and they are powered by rockets initially and then, of course, follow an unpowered trajectory towards their targets. Ballistic missiles are different from the cruise missiles, mind you, which travel with the use of jet engines like those used to power aircraft and planes. Cruise missiles, like the British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles Ukraine fired at Russia, according to reports yesterday, travel shorter distances but can be manually guided as well, right down to their target. Now, the Russian missile attack targeted enterprises and critical infrastructure in central eastern city of Dnipro, according to the latest reports. The Air Force has also corroborated that. Russia also fired a Kinzhal hypersonic missile and 7 Kh-101 cruise missiles, 6 of which were shot down, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Tensions have certainly risen this week as the 1,000th day of the war just passed on the 19th of November. Russia launching those ICBM, it comes after Ukraine fired United States' supplies ATACMS missiles into Russia after US President Joe Biden gave the all-clear to use such missiles. Joining us on the broadcast, Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, defense and geopolitical expert. A very warm welcome to you, General. General, first and foremost, what is essentially the significance of Russia now launching these ICBMs? Mind you, they've given that warning time and again before. Joe Biden has given the clear for the use of ATACMS just 2 months before relinquishing his office. UK also gave those Storm Shadow missiles. I mean, where is this essentially headed? 3 days back, we were asking, will it escalate? And I think we all have that answer, don't we?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And I think we need to take a step back 10 days, last 10 days after the elections were over in the United States, that the things have escalated, especially because I presume President Trump had stated that he will finish the war in 24 hours after he takes over. And something that the United States have not permitted use for last 1,000 days, which is use of ATCMS across into the Russian territory. And also because there are MTCR regulations in vogue. But after having permitted it, now the permission of targeting United States, Russia directly, which is also taken over by the United Kingdom for that missile, the United Kingdom's missiles which were used, also permitting the mines. Now the United States, which have not permitted this to be done for last 1,000 days, permitted missiles, mines to be used, which are the self-destructible mines, but the mines are all the way, it requires some kind of ethics to use mines of this kind. And of course, a $300 million another package, all in 10 days. And you know, in this same 10 days, President Putin had revised his nuclear doctrine. He scaled it down. You know, the threshold, he brought it down, saying that in case any nuclear power country is supporting Ukraine, that will also be deemed as threshold. So, you know, when you count all this together, since the time the results have come out of President Trump's election as president-elect, the whole thing has just blown away to pieces, you know. And actually, what has happened, as you rightly pointed out, the launch of RS-26, which is a ballistic missile stated to be an ICBM, which a multiple warhead entry. You know, it has been stated that there were 4 blasts together in the industrial area in Dnipro. Not nuclear, but yes, being in conventional, this is a very serious escalation which has happened. And I think the whatever the permissions have been granted by the United States for Ukraine to escalate across there in last 10 days must ought to be withdrawn so that the Russians also take a step back from their nuclear. This is a strategic missile, and a
Right.
strategic missile largely meant for use for with nuclear warheads. I think they need to take many steps back in the world to make sure that it doesn't escalate. It's a message. It is a nuclear signaling being done by the Russians by launching this missile, and it ought to be
I'm
taken
glad you
into
pointed
that
that
manner.
out, General. I'm glad you pointed that out because could Russia's use of the intercontinental ballistic missile now be a strong message and a signal to NATO and the larger international community as well? I remember reading about Poland scrambling their jets as well. So, I mean, of course, the ripple effects is something for everybody to see.
So you're right. Actually, Europe is also very anxious and worried after President Trump is being elected, because Europe's anxiety comes from President Trump taking many steps back in Trump 1.0 from NATO, and what would happen to Europe hereafter? And Europe doesn't have the strength. And in fact, other than the US, Germany has been the maximum supporter of Ukraine in the war. The Europe's anxiety comes up because of this escalation, and if it actually transforms into a nuclear thing, then it will be once after 1945, and it will break it into the next World War.
All right. General, let's look at it from the prism of Zelensky as well. A couple of days back at a radio podcast show, Volodymyr Zelensky had said that, under Donald Trump, I think the resolution and the de-escalation is going to be sooner. Now, look at Donald Trump. He's going to be making his way to the White House, and he said it time and again that, I'm going to quickly, clear this entire issue out. He's not specified how he's going to do that, but now Ukraine using these Western supplied arms and ammunitions. I mean, give us a risk and benefits analysis for Ukraine and Zelensky as well. He says he wants to talk about de-escalation, and the minute Biden gives that green signal, he starts using them.
So what happens is that land for peace proposal, which was on the table, which probably the Trump campaign has used and spoken about, is not acceptable to Mr. Zelensky. And naturally, it's not been acceptable to him because his land is being lost, the land being captured here. And whatever gains that Ukraine has made in the Kursk region, which isn't much, are being whittled because of the use of this 10,000 or North Korean troops which have come into Kursk region, and they are gradually pushing Ukrainians out. So if they had a bargaining chip in Kursk, that been lost. And in this year alone, to 2024, the Russians have captured more than 1,200 square kilometers of territory in the eastern frontier. So they are edging and they are moving forward. This 2024 has been a year of Russia, and except for the Kursk region where they lost out. Now I think the Ukrainians must be rethinking about going to Kursk region because they have a large manpower now stuck into that area, and they can't even withdraw them back to protect the eastern flank where the Russians are advancing. And of course, in the Kursk region, the North Koreans are pushing ahead. So the whole thing was building up to a situation like this. And what sanctions, which United States did not do it for 1,000 days, was suddenly sanctioned in the course of last 10 days. It all gives rise to feeling that by the time President Trump takes over, this would reach a stage where it may be irretrievable in a situation to bring.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But you know what? We'll let the dust settle because the Republican administration is also shaping up. I mean, of course, we know that Mark Rubio and, there are some serious names that have already been taken and appointed by Donald Trump. But Ukraine has now reported shooting down those KH-101 cruise missiles, those hypersonic missiles, beg your pardon. 6 of those were shot down. What does this essentially tell us, General, about Ukraine's own ability to strike down, incoming warheads?
So I don't know, Kabir. I don't, see, everybody says so many people died, so many tanks destroyed, so many missiles were down, so many drones were down. Who is saying the truth in this confusion of the war? Nobody can guarantee. So the fact is, truth becomes the first casualty. So when now Ukraine is saying we downed so many, the Russians are saying we downed so many of these British Storm missiles also.